Hey guys, sorry for any interruption you may get here. It's about 7:37 in the morning. My mom just dropped me off about 37 minutes ago, or a little around 35 minutes ago actually. The reason being is because I have to work today for 3.5 hours, believe it or not, from 9:30 to 1. And my mom's got a training for her preschool teaching in Livermore, so both of us had to kind of accommodate each other with getting to work. I mean, I could have easily done Lyft, and that probably would have helped, but I don't know if there would have been any openings. And the bus schedule basically kind of screwed me over a little bit, and as well as anybody else that needs to take the bus to work, because now on the weekends it's every 3 hours. It's like, oh, you want to go on the bus? You want to take the bus to work? You got to take the earliest bus, because if you don't, you'll be late to work, and that's pretty much it. But you see the title. But anyway, you see the title below. I mean, you see the title on this live video, and I want to thank you all for watching live. But basically, what the title is saying is, as we know, a couple of days ago, back on Wednesday or Thursday morning, Wednesday morning, I believe, Marvel released the Avengers Infinity War trailer. The teaser trailer, first trailer, whatever you want to call it. Now, fortunately, someone was also able to upload back in September. I guess they wanted to give it a little breathing room. They uploaded the trailer that was shown at D23. So, basically, we got to see that. I got to view that. Hold on for a second. There we go. I got to view that as well, as best I could, because they tried to film it in a way to where you could see it, but it wouldn't be like on the bridges of copyright and all that. But the reason I bring up this topic of how the Infinity War showed how cinematic universes can be done, and basically be done correctly, is mainly you're looking at 10 years, a decade's worth of story being built up to this moment that's going to take place in theaters on May 4th of next year. This is the culmination of 10 years of ongoing storylines that connected one after the other, starting with Iron Man in 2007, and more recently with Thor Ragnarok, and then continuing in February with Black Panther. So, to me, when I hear the praise and the positive thumbs up and criticism that the MCU is getting because of this, and Disney and Marvel are getting because of this as well, and even Sony getting into the act, it's a good feeling if you're a fan of these characters. I mean, because you grew up, because let's be honest, all of us, I should say, grew up on the Marvel Universe. Like I said, most of us grew up on the Marvel Universe in some form or fashion. We... Hold on for a second. We grew up watching these characters, enjoying these characters in any shape or form. We either was do the comic books or animated series, what have you. And now to see that all come full circle, after numerous tries in the past, and I think we all know what I'm talking about, and failing, this is probably the best the best bounce back I think any franchise that's been adapted, sorry about that, has ever had. I mean, it is. When you think about it, it's probably one of the best, bounce backs we've ever seen. As far as, again, getting back to on topic here, as far as what I mean in the description and in the title here, there are a lot of current up and coming cinematic universes that are basically becoming a reality, or trying to become a reality, because of what Marvel and Disney did with the MCU. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, well, it wasn't Disney entirely. I mean, Marvel started it while they were still associating with Paramount and Universal. And that's true. And even Sony now has kind of gotten into that act. So I kind of understand. I'm just checking something here. I kind of understand what you're talking about. That it's not entirely Disney that takes credit. Because like you said, because like a lot of you are saying, Paramount started this with the distributing of several of the movies, like Iron Man, like the Iron Man films, Captain America, the first Avengers film. But they were the distributors. They were not the studio behind them. The studio behind them was Marvel. The only thing that changed was when Disney bought out Marvel, and all the properties, including Marvel Studios, went with it. And the only reason Paramount got the first Avengers movie under the belt was because of a collaboration with Disney, saying, hey, we still had an agreement with Marvel before you did this. That's why they were able to get it. Now, with that said, but as I was saying, with that said, as I was mentioning, there's a lot of current up-and-coming cinematic universes that are trying to take an example, or trying to, not take an example, but try to get a piece of that successful financial pie that Marvel and Disney and Sony and all those involved have gotten over the past decade. We pretty much figured that DC was going to try to get involved somehow, kind of throw their hat into the. We pretty much knew that DC was going to try to throw their hat into the ring and take a stab at it after they finished with The Dark Knight Rises. And we saw them attempt that with we saw them start that with Man of Steel, and then continue that on with Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. And then we ended up getting Suicide Squad. We ended up getting Wonder Woman, and now we're getting and now we got recently Justice League. And I guess after that, we're supposed to get a few other movies, I think. Like, we're supposed to get another Justice League. We're supposed to get another Wonder Woman. And we're supposed to get something with the Flash, Green Lantern, of course, Cyborg, maybe. There's a lot of movies that are part of this universe that are supposed to be coming. We're also supposed to get some kind of Batman film that's either going to be a part or not be a part of the universe. I would make bets that Warner Bros. Is going to at least try to make it part of the universe in some shape or form. I really do. But when hold on for a sec. Like I said, hold on. But like I said, we're not sure about that yet, but knowing WB, they're going to do whatever it takes in their power to make that Batman film part of the DCEU. And a lot of people are saying that, Warner Brothers should just give up on it right now and just start over again. If there's anything we know about Warner Brothers right now, especially with the fact that Justice League and Wonder Woman were probably the two shining lights in a sense. Like, Justice League was a mixed bag, but as you got into the later parts of the movie, from what I understand, you kind of saw that Josh Weldon, whatever his name is, influence being shown. You kind of saw that same kind of influence and style that you saw in the MCU being shown in Justice League. And Patty Dykes, or whatever her name is, Patty Jenkins, I think, who did Wonder Woman, has proven that with the right director and the right team, you can get a decent DC movie. It's been proven. Heck, ask Christopher Nolan when he was able to do 3 successful Batman films, and one of them was nominated for Best Picture. And one of the actors became one Best Supporting Actor, I think, for that film, even after he had gone from this life. Even after he has gone from this life, he still won Best Supporting Actor, which is amazing for a movie based on a comic book. And for the fact that a comic book movie was nominated for Best Picture shows that with the right staff, the right people behind it, it can be a success. It can work. In the end, it could be something that people will enjoy, people would get behind. It is. Hold on, I'm just checking my... It is. And it shows that there is some light. And like I said, some people have said that Justice League has shown that even though it's not doing so well at the box office as many would expect it would, Warner Brothers DC most importantly, that there are moments in it that make it enjoyable. I mean, Angry Joe, who did a review on it, even found it enjoyable. Said it's better than they expected. Yes, there are some flaws. Now, on the other hand, you got Universal, who was once part of the MCU when they did the Hulk movie, the Incredible Hulk movie, or helped distribute it. You have Universal get into the act with the Dark Universe, which is the Dark Cinematic Universe, based on the classic Universal monsters. Starting off with the Mummy, and then presumably they're supposed to go forward with, I think, maybe Frankenstein being next, or Dracula, one of the two. We have to look that up. And then maybe Jekyll and Hyde, because we got Jekyll and Hyde in the Mummy movie, so it only makes sense that they would be next. But again, now that's kind of in question because of the fact that the Mummy didn't do so well in the box office as they were hoping. So now that Dark Universe is in question. That Dark Universe, that Universal Monster Cinematic Universe, is in question of whether or not it's going to continue or it's going to get rebooted. Like I said, it's in question. And then on the other side of things, with Warner Brothers, Universal, and Legendary Pictures collaborating together, you have, and mostly Toho, if you will, I think that's the name, you have a kaiju cinematic universe, or a monster cinematic universe, an MCU of their own, or whatever they're calling it, focused around Godzilla and King Kong and the monsters involved in those universes. And pretty much King Kong, Skull Island, and Godzilla have proven, despite some flaws, that they can be pretty decent, and that cinematic universes created around these kinds of franchises and characters can be a success enough to where you would be able to see more of that in the near future, more of a continuation. And that's why when people look and get excited at the record-breaking trailer, and it did break records, that being Infinity War, or its trailer for Avengers Infinity War. When they look at that record-breaking trailer on YouTube and all of social media, they basically see the culmination of everything done correctly. That no matter what the change in directors or screenwriters or whatever, as long as they stay true to what made the Marvel Cinematic Universe the success it is, that it shows that in the end, it shows that basically the culmination of years, if not a decade's worth of hard work, pays off, because now we are getting something that no fans ever thought they would see in Infinity War. You're basically getting the biggest crossover in movie history that's based on a comic book that's basically involving a majority of the Marvel characters. You know, characters from Spider-Man to the Guardians of the Galaxy to the Avengers themselves, Iron Man, Hulk, Scarlet Witch, you name it, Black Widow. You're getting this moment that you normally didn't think you would see, happening finally on the big screen in a way that's never been done before. I mean, basically, you're taking two teams you're taking two established teams, if you will, in the Guardians of the Galaxy and the Avengers, and you're putting them together as a group. And on top of that, you're adding in the new additions of Black Panther, Spider-Man, and then as well as Doctor Strange. And then on top of that, you know, with the fourth Avengers Infinity movie to be a direct sequel to Infinity War coming, the fourth Avengers movie, with that possibly involving characters like Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers, you know, Ant-Man and Wasp. I'm thinking Ant-Man's supposed to be in this one too. I'm not really sure. I don't know if Hawkeye's going to be involved. He might be. We don't know who else is going to be here. We know Ant-Man and Wasp may be involved, and we know that maybe Hawkeye may be involved as well, but we haven't seen anything of that nature yet, and we probably won't see any of that until the next trailer. To the next full official trailer, if you will. But the point I'm getting at is, you know, it opened since 2007. The door was open for something like this to occur and be done correctly. Yeah, you had some ups and downs with some of the movies, but they weren't as bad as other movies people have said have been. And they've been put in it, and now you got the ending result being something that, again, as far as movies go, you never thought you would see. Because essentially, like I said, you know, you've opened the door for not only this to happen, but with that second Infinity movie coming, you know, that fourth Avengers movie, which is Infinity related, coming, you're looking essentially at the addition of other characters as well. Other characters like Captain Marvel, Ant-Man and Wasp, if they're not here in this one, Hawkeye, you know, maybe characters from the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the Inhumans, you know, that are from their show, you know, Daredevil, if they want to put that in there, Luke Cage, you name it, the Defenders. You know, you're opening the door for these characters to appear in this one or in the upcoming fourth Avengers movie, you know, to have it all come to a conclusion for this first half of what seemingly is going to be a long-running Marvel Cinematic Universe. You have opened basically the door for that to happen, and it's been done in the most correct, and basically from what fans have seen, it's been done in the most correct way possible. That it makes that when something like Infinity War occurs, it feels like it's the right thing to do. It's basically like you've gone through all this, you might as well cap it off with something like this movie, like some kind of movie event like this, and that's what they're doing, and it just feels right for it to be done this way. And that's why when I say in the description how other cinematic universes can take notes on how it's done correctly. You don't rush things as people have accused DC and Warner Brothers of doing. You don't rush things to try to compete with someone that's been doing it for about a decade, because it's going to blow up in your face. And a lot of people feel that despite the mediocre success that it's had, it's basically the plan for Warner Brothers and DC Comics to have their DCEU catch up or try to surpass the MCU quicker than they should has blown up in the face. I mean, yeah, there's no doubt that Wonder Woman and some parts of Justice League and some parts of Suicide Squad and even Dawn of Justice have proven that there is some potential, there is some light at the end of the tunnel for something like this to occur. But the point is, ladies and gentlemen, what's hurt them the most at times is Warner Bros. And DC were rushing this to the big screen when they should have took their time. If they wanted to compete on the same level as Marvel, they should have said, you know what, let's not rush Justice League, let's build it up with individual films of the characters involved, and then we'll get to Justice League. That would have made more sense. You can't just put a Justice League movie together because you put cameos of Cyborg, Aquaman, Flash, and all of them in, Dawn of Justice to set it up. You don't do that. You don't add Batman to Suicide Squad to connect it or reference Dawn of Justice, if you will, because you want to rush this. What's going to happen is you're going to have some decent films. There are going to be some hardcore comic book fans and maybe some casual movie fans that know of these characters. They're going to be like, yeah, it's okay, it was good, it had its flaws, but it was alright. But the point is, despite having a decent, if not semi-successful film, it's going to have flaws. People are going to point out the flaws, and one of the major flaws that are occasionally associated with what Warner Brothers and DC have done is basically the fact that these movies may be good, in some shape or form, may have some good parts to them, good scenes, good moments, but the biggest thing is they have been rushed. They have been rushed to the big screen to try and compete with Marvel, Disney, and Sony when it comes to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And they know this. I think they know this because of the fact that you can't tell me Warner Brothers doesn't see the box office numbers. I mean, yeah, they're good. There are great box office numbers, but you don't think they don't pay attention to the decline that happens maybe a week or two later. You can't tell me that they don't see the decline that they ended up having by losing to Disney and Pixar's Coco, of all movies, the following week, instead of keeping a strong competitive edge. The point is, hold on for a sec. The point is, DC and Warner Brothers need to take their time, and I think what's happening is they're now realizing that, and that's why, even though we know other future DCEU movies may be coming, that's why I believe those movies may end up being delayed by at least a couple of years. I mean, we're supposed to get the second Justice League movie, in 19? Don't be surprised if they push that back to 20, just so they can give it time to build. Maybe put in another Wonder Woman movie, or put in the Aquaman movie, and kind of give it some breathing room. And you know what? They may be surprised of exactly what will happen if they do that. But then you take a look at Universal. Hold on for a sec. You take a look at Universal, and Universal basically bombed the first time. From what I understand, Universal has attempted this before with Dracula Untold. Dracula Untold, from what people have reported, was supposed to be the start of a dark Universal Monster universe. Or dark universe, a cinematic universe, and that blew up in their face. So now they tried it with The Mummy, and that blew up in their face. Now, don't get me wrong, there were probably people that enjoyed it, probably enjoyed this modern interpretation of The Mummy, but didn't like probably didn't like the colossal mess or flaws that it had. I mean, maybe they did like the fact that the Mummy this time the Mummy antagonist was going to be female. But they didn't, but I think what really hurt them, that even though this movie was okay, maybe, wasn't financially a box office hit, but was decent, I guess, to the ongoing casual moviegoer, they may have known about the Universal Monsters and all that. That I think what really confused people about The Mummy, from what I understand, is you're thinking this one mummy chick is going to be the main antagonist, and she is for most of the film, but then you have this other dude that she wants to bring back, and it really just threw him for a loop. And then you have the main Tom Cruise's character get possessed by the spirit, become basically the Mummy himself for future installments, maybe down the line if they do them. And in typical fashion, what do? You take a page out of, what was it? The Mummy Returns, and you have the main protagonist's potential love interest die or get killed, only for he, through some kind of deus ex machina, bring her back with some kind of power. And again, that despite the fact that there may have been some people that found the movie okay, found it decent, be like, hey, this is alright, I like the interpretation, I like the new gender take on the Mummy and all that. Oh, and I like the twist at the end that she's not the actual Mummy, she's actually, that instead it's going to be the Tom Cruise character now, or something like that. It just really, I think what fans want when it comes to these cinematic universes, or these attempts anyway, is just a straightforward story. Nothing over the top, nothing overly complicated, just a straightforward story from beginning to end. That's all they want. You know, they don't want something that's going to confuse them from the beginning. You know, they don't want something that's going to confuse them from the beginning. They just want something that's straightforward, not complex or anything, but something that speaks to them on an intelligent level. And that's all they ask. That's all they ask of any of these. Now if Universal continues with the Dark Universe, then like I said, whatever movie they got upcoming next, you know, whatever it could be, whether it's Dracula related or it's Dracula related, or it's Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde related, or Creature from the Black Lagoon related, or whatever it may be, all I can say is that if they're determined to continue this dark universe and get a second film out of it, they got to make sure that they take their time with this film, and that whoever they bring on board, and that whoever they bring or brought on board, excuse me for a second. Like I said, whoever they have hired to bring on board, or takes their time with the film. I mean, I know some of these films are supposed to be slated for next year, or maybe the year after, I don't really know. But hopefully whoever they bring in, you know, takes their time, or they've brought in, takes their time and says, let's tell, and makes the decision of, hey, let's tell a straightforward, not so complicated story that speaks to the fans, that doesn't treat them like idiots, if you will. And whether that's Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, whether that's Dracula, Frankenstein, you name it, if they can do that with one of those movies that'll be the second in this dark universe, they'll be surprised at the reception they'll get. They will be ultimately surprised. You know why? Because then people will say, hey, people will look at that movie and say, hey, this was better than The Mummy. I actually understood the plot. You know, I didn't feel like I had to figure out, I didn't feel like I needed to pay attention and try to figure out multiple subplots here and there. I got one plot, one story, maybe a subplot on the side, but something that together I could understand and enjoy. They will be surprised if they speaks to the fans, doesn't treat them like idiots, depending on whatever universal monster, sorry about that, but depending on whatever universal monster they get, that if they decide to go in that direction, they will be greatly surprised. Hold on for a sec. I don't want people to think I'm filming them or anything, so, but like I said, they will be greatly surprised at what they get. Because, like I said, I know I'm repeating myself here, I do apologize for that, but if they end up bringing in someone, or depending on who they've brought in, to do one of these future Dark Universe movies, if that person or that crew decides, hey, you know, let's take our time with it, let's tell a not so complex movie, let's tell a story that speaks to the fans on an intelligent level and is not so complicated, and maybe, okay, we'll throw in a subplot here, but it doesn't interfere as much or convolute the story as much. Hold on for a sec. Gotta go back for a second. There we go. Had a bad connection there, but like I said, doesn't convolute the story as much and everything. It basically still gives the fans a very straightforward film that they can understand and enjoy from start to finish. Again, I think Universal will be generally surprised about the reception they get should they allow whatever team and director that they've brought in or will bring in the future for these Dark Universe movies to take their time and be able to tell a story. And I think that's the lesson that anybody needs to take from what Marvel has done, especially after seeing the Infinity War trailer and all that, that if you want to get to this point in the future, if that's your goal, to get to a point like this, take your time, tell stories that are not so convoluted, not so complex. It doesn't treat the audience like idiots, and you might be able to find a diamond in the rough when it comes to that. You might be able to find gold at the end of the rainbow if you do that, because that's exactly what Marvel has done. Despite who they've had distribute their movies, whether it's been Paramount, whether it's been Universal, Sony, Disney, they have done that. Marvel Studios and Marvel in general have done that, and it has been proven from time and time again that if you don't convolute things and you tell a good story, a good actual story that people can understand, go to the theaters, sit back and enjoy. Sorry for that, but go to theaters and sit back and enjoy, you'll be pleasantly surprised at the positive reaction you'll get, and the box office return you'll get. So I think, honestly, the people that are working on the Dark Universe, the people that are and will be working on the Dark Universe movies, the people that are and will be working on the DCEU movies, as well as the people working on the Kaiju Monster Universe movies of Godzilla, King Kong, Mothra, and all of them, they need to take notes and say, you know what, if we're going to make this work and we're going to get to this moment, then we need to take our time and write an intelligent story that people can come to the theaters and enjoy, alongside seeing some of the favorite classic Universal monsters on the screen, or their favorite monsters in general, like King Kong and Godzilla and Mothra on the screen, or their favorite DC heroes on the screen, if they take notes and be like, hey, maybe we should go in that direction, or take inspiration from that, they'll be generally surprised about what they may get in the end. But as the description also says, I also want to discuss something as well. But before I talk about that, I will say that, like I said, if they just take notes, take some inspiration, they may be surprised about what they get. They'll be surprised in general. I mean, when Joss Whedon took over Justice League, you saw some of that MCU like style or creativity in writing. So there are bright spots, and if they could just capitalize on those bright spots, doesn't matter if it's Warner Brothers and DC, doesn't matter if it's Universal and the Dark Universe, Universal Monsters Cinematic Universe, or it's the Toho Kaiji Cinematic Universe with King Kong, Godzilla, Mothra, and all them. If they can tell an intelligent story, a story that's not convoluted, complex, doesn't treat the people like idiots, doesn't treat the audience like idiots, and is enjoyable from start to finish, and maybe throw in a subplot if you want to kind of keep things interesting, people will be generally surprised, and they will probably be generally surprised and enjoy what they get on the big screen. Hold on for a second. Gotta go to the other side here. But they'll be generally surprised about what they get on the big screen from these studios. They will be. They will be. They'll be generally surprised, I guarantee you. But that's all I think these studios, from Warner Brothers, Universal, and Toho, along with their collaboration of Warner Brothers, Legendary, and Universal, that's all they have to do. Let the creative team take their time, let the directors and the screenwriters take their time, and they may be positively surprised at the reaction they'll get from the audience if they do that. But now, I know this is running a long time, but I got time on my hands, folks. I got a lot of time on my hands before I start work. I want to talk about what potential future ones we could get. Now, there is one that's coming within the next few years. It is this is hard to believe, but Warner Brothers is releasing, or going to try to attempt to release and create, a Hanna-Barbera Cinematic Universe, an HBCU, I guess, or HCU, or HBCU, or HBU, or HBU, or whatever you want to call it. A Hanna-Barbera Cinematic Universe, an HBCU, starting with the movie Scoob, which is supposed to be animated. We don't know if it's CGI. From what they said, it's supposed to be like a blending of 2D, 3D. We don't really know. But it's supposed to be animated in a way that I think people will enjoy. And it's supposed to be the first of what could be many Hanna-Barbera Cinematic Universe movies in the future. But will it do good? Well, it's Scooby-Doo, and pretty much whether or not the movies have been good or not, the Scooby-Doo movies that came before on the big screen have proven to be huge hits. The movies that come out direct-to-video and Blu-ray have proven to be successes, despite what kind of concepts they come up with. So, who knows? Who knows what they may come up with here? Who knows what they may come up with here? But yeah, that's one of the future cinematic universes we got coming in the next few years. But the question is, what is going to follow it? What follows it? What's going to follow it in the future? And we kind of seen in the comic books by DC that there are potential ideas of what movies could follow in that universe. We've kind of seen the fact that, and heck, even Mystery Incorporated kind of provided an idea of what we could get in a sort of a cinematic universe like style, because we've pretty much gotten the idea that pretty much got the idea that Jabba Jaw could be part of this universe. We got an idea that Jabba Jaw could be part of this. We got the idea that Speed Buggy could be part of this. So those are two potential cinematic universe spin-offs from Scoob that you can get, or not spin-offs, but two additional cinematic Hanna-Barbera movies, or basically two additional Hanna-Barbera cinematic universe movies we could get out of this new cinematic universe with these Hanna-Barbera characters. Jabba Jaw, Speed Buggy, there's probably a peripheral. Johnny Quest has also been brought up, so he's possibly one. Heck, if they can have him cross over with Tom and Jerry, I think him being crossed over with Scooby-Doo would be interesting. Blue Falcon and Dino Mud, of course, is probably going to be another. So you got the potential of a lot of cinematic universe movies for the Hanna-Barbera cinematic universe. But it's all going to depend and infringes on how successful the Scoob movie is in the next few years. If it's a huge hit or a moderate success, then yeah, we will see more. If it's not, then you can pretty much scrap the Hanna-Barbera cinematic universe. But whoever's working on Scoob, I will say this, if they're watching any videos from fans like me or anybody else, do exactly what I suggested. Take your time, write out a decent script for Scoob, so that when people go and see it on the big screen, they won't feel insulted. They won't feel like the intelligence is being insulted. They won't feel like it's too convoluted. But that it's just the right amount of story that needs to be told, especially when it comes to Scooby-Doo. To characters like Scooby-Doo, Shaggy, Velma, Daphne, Fred, and any new and returning characters, supporting characters you want to bring in, because that's what it needs to do. Scoob needs to be done in a way that longtime fans and new fans growing up with it can be like, yeah, this is a Scooby-Doo I know. I think this Hanna-Barbera cinematic universe is going to be okay. That's the end result. That's what needs to be the end result. That pretty much after it's all said and done, after people go and see the movie, they can have that positive feeling that, hey, this Hanna-Barbera cinematic universe is going to be in good hands. It's going to be okay. So we'll just have to wait and see what they come up with. But then there are other potential cinematic universes, or at least connecting universes, shared universes. DuckTales, the new one, has kind of proven that there is kind of a connected universe of Disney Afternoon-inspired shows and stories all around. In fact, you want to go further than that, go back to Disney Adventures and the Legend of the Chaos God story arc that took place there. You take a look at the Legend of the Chaos God story arc that took place in the pages of the Disney Adventures magazine, involving all the Disney Afternoon, all the primary Disney Afternoon shows at that time, from, Tailspin, Rescue Rangers, Goof Troop, DuckTales, Darkwing Duck. As early as the Disney Adventures magazine, it said as early as the Disney Adventures magazine in the Legend of the Chaos God story arc, it has proven that a shared or cinematic universe can work with the Disney Afternoon. And since DuckTales has been rebooted, and there is confirmation that Darkwing Duck's going to be appearing in this, maybe along with Gosalyn, and the fact that we got Gizmo Duck as well coming in, it pretty much shows that if you have those two shows connected together, crossing over in this reboot, it pretty much shows that a shared cinematic universe is, when it comes to Disney Afternoon characters, rebooted or retconned, can work. And with references to Tailspin, to Cape Suzette and Spoonerville, what have you, it kind of shows that this can work. It can work, even if you're referencing them, because if you're referencing them, you're pretty much, in a sense, in the eyes of the viewer, in the eyes of those watching, you're pretty much saying, hey, we're going to bring these characters in. We just don't know when. And I think that's what's going to happen, or is happening already. Fans are wanting to see DuckTales, the new one, cross over, not just with Darkwing, which it's going to do, but they want to see it cross over with Tailspin, with Goof Troop, with Rescue Rangers. Because if you're referencing and hinting at those kind of things, then yeah, fans are going to want to see it happen and become a reality sooner than later. Hold on for a sec. Fans are going to want to see it happen sooner or later. And, that's pretty much the truth. They're going to want to see it happen. So it can be proven. It can happen if done correctly. Now, are some people kind of judging a little bit that DuckTales right now is kind of out of sync continuity-wise? Yeah, people are going to judge it. People are going to talk about that. But you know what? They have a right to, because... they have a right to say that, because it does seem like it is a little disjointed. But right now it's because they're trying to finish off creating some of the newer episodes that are going to come out. That's why it feels a little disjointed, because you don't have the episodes that are necessary or needed to help complete a story arc or help fill in the voids of said story arc, because they're not completed yet. So yeah, they have some right to be concerned and complain, but you know what? What are you going to do? That's the whole thing. What are you going to do? What are you going to do about it? That's the thing. But besides that, it proves, though, even through references, acknowledgments, and all that, that a shared universe, cinematic universe with Disney Afternoon characters can work and probably will work in the near future if done correctly. Hold on for a second. But can be done correctly, can be done efficiently and correctly, and probably done in a way that people want to see more. I don't think we can deny that. Another discussion that's been, another property or franchise that has, or another media outlet that has been talked about, or has talked about having a cinematic universe, is Hasbro. Yeah, Hasbro has talked about having a cinematic universe, and basically they're talking about starting it with G.I. Joe. Whether it's a continuation of the current G.I. Joe film series or it's a reboot, there is talk of doing a Hasbro cinematic universe with some of the properties like G.I. Joe, Mask, Inhumanoids. Well, I don't know about Humanoids, but Mask being one of them. Visionaries, maybe. Possibly Inhumanoids if they want to throw that in there. Or not. Rom, the robot, is another. These are all properties that Hasbro has some ownership of, or partnership with, or complete ownership of, that they want to see, that are being discussed as being part of this part of this Hasbro cinematic universe. And it'll be interesting, though, how they would approach that. Like I said, it'll be interesting to see how they would approach that in the near future if they decide to go in that direction. I'm just checking to see if there's any bad connection going to be happening. But like I said, it'll be interesting to see how they approach that in the future of what they can, of what properties they will include in this potential Hasbro Cinematic Universe. Now, what's even interesting though is already you got several properties of theirs on the big screen. You have Transformers that have pretty much become despite how you feel about some of the movies, a financial successful blockbuster franchise, a movie franchise. You have My Little Pony that had a moderate successful box office run, even for the month and a half that it had. So Hasbro has had success in those areas. Here's what I would do if I was Hasbro. Because we know they're trying to plan on doing an animated Transformer movie down the line. We don't know if it's going to be cinematic or not. We know that's in the works. But here's what I would do if I'm Hasbro. I would basically animate, if I'm going to do a cinematic universe, I don't do live action. I don't. And if you want to do that, that's fine, but keep it separate. Keep it its own entity. But if I'm Hasbro, I do a animated cinematic universe because it makes more sense. You got the money, you got the tools, you got the resources, the facilities to make it, to probably make it a reality. I would basically, if I'm Hasbro, I would basically create an animated cinematic universe for my property, and my properties would include Transformers, include G.I. Joe, include Gem, include My Little Pony, and even throw in Visionaries, Mask, Inhumanoids if you want to. But if I was to create a cinematic universe, and I think this is probably the best direction Hasbro could go in, I would go the animated route, because you could do so much more. Hold on for a second. But like I said, you could do so much more if they go the animated route. Now, right now, from what I understand, they want to go a live action route, which is all right if it's done correctly. But the only question is how they're going to go that way. How are they going to start it? Are they going to start it off with are they going to use the third G.I. Joe film to start it off? Or are they going to use a rebooted G.I. Joe film to start it off? That would be the ultimate question. How would they do this? How would they go and do this? That would be the ultimate question. Would they start it off with the third G.I. Joe film in the series? In the movie franchise? Or would they start with a rebooted G.I. Joe and then go from there? We'll have to wait and see whatever announcements are made. But I look at it this way. Hasbro's making bucket loads of money now. They have numerous cash cows on the lineup, from Littlest Pet Shop to My Little Pony, Transformers, you name it. The licensing of, Star Wars and all these other properties. The licensing of some of the Marvel, I think, figures. I mean, Hasbro's making bucket loads of money, so they shouldn't have a problem if they wanted to, and I think it'd be a smart move, because you have a very diverse movie-going audience, hardcore fans of the franchises or not, that you need to satisfy. And I think, honestly, if I'm Hasbro, I would create two different cinematic universes, totally different from each other. I would create a live-action one if I'm determined to still do that, and that's fine. But I would also go an animated route, which would allow for a lot of my properties that through live action, well, it could be done, but not really, but not as as effective. That would allow some of the properties, some other properties, to cross over with each other. It would open the door for that to happen. And I think Warner Brothers knows that. I think Warner Brothers, not Warner Brothers, but I think Hasbro knows that. Hasbro knows that if they that if they were to go the animated route, it opens many more doors. So if I'm Hasbro, like I said, I would create 2 separate cinematic universes. I would create a live action one, if I want to still do that, but I would also create an animated one, which allows more of my content that I have, more of my properties that I have control of, I have ownership of, or license of, to be crossed over with other properties. I mean, can you imagine My Little Pony, a My Little Pony movie being part of this, and the cliffhanger at the end of a My Little Pony movie is the next movie involved could be, of all properties, Mask or Transformers, but it's done in animated form. Oh, shoot. Sorry about that, folks. It kind of disconnected on me there for a second, and then I hit the off button. But like I said, imagine if that was done in animated form, and then the ending of that My Little Pony movie could be a cliffhanger indicating what the next film could be, and that next film could involve someone from showing up at the end of that cliffhanger being from, let's say, Mask or Transformers, or heck, even Visionaries, if you wanted to go in that direction. I mean, the possibilities are endless, in my opinion. They are very endless. But yeah, imagine that happening. And I think fans would actually get a kick out of it. They would enjoy it. Fans would be happy about it. And I think Hasbro, it would be a smart move for them to do 2 separate universes. Because like I said earlier, there is a diverse casual movie going audience, even along with the hardcore fans. They would appreciate one maybe over the other, if not both. Sorry for that. I don't know what just happened there, but anyway, imagine, like I was saying, I mean, like I was saying, the possibilities. Hold on for a sec. But like I said, the possibilities, are endless. They are, and again, I think audiences, hardcore fans, casual moviegoers would appreciate a variety, appreciate having 1 or 2 choices. Maybe they'll appreciate both, you never know. They would appreciate that probably in the end. And that they would get a chance to see both both cinematic versions of these properties. Sorry about that. But like I said, imagine an animated Transformers film ending, and in the post-credits, the next thing you see is a character from Mask. I mean, again, the possibilities are endless, Sorry for the bad connections. People, I think, are online right now. But like I said, imagine that being okay, there we go. But again, like I said, imagine the ending of a Transformers film, and the next thing you see is a character from G.I. Joe, or a character from Mask. That would be mind-blowing, or a character from Inhumanoids. Going the animated route for Hasbro would probably, like I said, open up more doors than live action. Oh, got it back. There we go. Like I said, live action's a good route they want to go in if they want to, but the thing is, animated would probably be the best direction to go in. Especially because it opens up more doors than ever before. Hold on for a sec. Got 2 cars coming. Here we go. But like I said, it opens the door. I mean, again, imagine a My Little Pony movie ending, and then the next thing you see at the end of a post-credits of My Little Pony, Oni, and let's say there's some kind of plot that involves some kind of magical item or something like that, and that magical item, or at least one that's connected to it, a la, let's say, Infinity Stones, like I said, a la Infinity Stones, or something similar, ends up in Gem's world, and at the end of that My Little Pony animated film, you see a hand pick up the item, and it's Gem. Or it's Jericho Benton. Imagine that. Again, the possibilities are endless if Hasbro goes that animated route. But it's up to them. They want to go, like I said, the live action route. Maybe they'll make something good of it. Maybe something good will come out of it. But if I'm them, I'd go both routes. One that's animated gives you more possibilities to run with, as well as if I want to go live action, go ahead and do it, because like I say, there's such a diverse, in today's culture, there's such a diverse movie going audience that either one will work, I think, if done correctly. But as I said at the beginning, and I'll say again, if they want to get to the goal of accomplishing what the Marvel Cinematic Universe has done so far, especially when it comes to Infinity War, and it's just this trailer alone that's gotten people, the record-breaking trailer that's gotten people excited, and it's shown that this can be done, that this is how you do it. That if they want to reach that goal, then all they have to do is make sure they do these properties justice. They do these cinematic universes they're going to be part of justice. You know, they do it all justice, they do it correctly, and they take their time with it. They don't rush it to compete with one another. They take their time and they do it right. So that's there to me, folks, is why that to me is how it should be done, how it has to be done. You know, they need to take their time. If they want to, if any of them, from Hasbro, Warner Brothers, Toho with Godzilla and King Kong, you know, Universal with the Dark Universe, Universal Monster Series, WB with the Hanna-Barbera Cinematic Universe, you know, that, and like I said, Hasbro, if they want to make sure they get successes, they reach the goal, they accomplish the same, they want to reach and accomplish that same goal that Marvel has done with their MCU, which culminates with Infinity War, and thus this record-breaking trailer showing you basically in the eyes of viewers like me and anybody else that this is how you do it and you do it right, then they need to take notes, and they need to take notes and inspiration from this. Is watch every movie if they have to and be like, okay, this is what works and this is what doesn't, and I guarantee, as well as take their time with it, they will have huge hits on their hands, and the studios that distribute these films, you know, some Paramount, Universal, you name it, Illumination, they will be surprised about the positive reaction they get. Heck, even with Illumination doing a Mario Brothers movie and the potential of a Mario Cinematic Universe out of that, or a Nintendo Cinematic Universe, an NCU, the possibilities are endless. I mean, imagine the Mario movie, the Illumination's Mario movie ending, and in a post-cliffhanger scene, you see Daisy. If Daisy's not involved in it, you see Daisy at the end of that. Or you see Link at the end, like some kind of magical item goes through some kind of warp zone, and the next place it lands is in Hyrule, and the person that picks it up is Link. Imagine the reaction. But it's got to be done right, and it's going to be done correctly. And hopefully Illumination, whoever they bring on to do this, understands that. Hopefully they understand that. Hopefully they understand that they got to do this justice, they got to do it right. Same with the Sonic movie. The Sonic movie comes out in a few years. If it's going to be part of some kind of Sonic universe or whatever, if it's going to be part of some kind of Sonic universe, the people they got working on it, they need, from what I've heard of good people, they need to make sure it's done justice and it's done in a way that if they're going to create some kind of cinematic universe out of this, that people that people want to see more of the cinematic universe. They're going to want to see more of this Sonic cinematic universe. They're going to want to see more of it. So hopefully, whoever they got to do this will do it justice and will do it correctly. And take their time with it. Don't try to rush out the script, rush out production or anything, because it will backfire. And I think, again, what they need to do, the people behind the Mario movie, if that's going to lead to something. Same with Sonic, Hasbro, Warner Brothers, with the Hanna-Barbera universe, and the DCEU, Universal, you name it, Toho. All of them that got these cinematic universes currently in production, currently in existence, or currently in production, currently in existence, or on the way, need to make sure that they're going to make these successes and they're going to reach the same potential and success that Marvel has done with the MCU, which has been proven with the Infinity War trailer. Then they need to take their time. They need to take their time, and they need to do it right, so that people will sit back and say, "Hey, this is so that potentially people could sit back and say, hey, this is the start of the next MCU. That the Hanna-Barbera Cinematic Universe is the next MCU. And all the Dark Universe maybe has a chance to succeed and be a success." Stuff like that. And that's what needs to be done. So that's all I'm going to say on it, folks. I need to get me some breakfast before I start work. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think down below. Comment if you like. I'd like to hear from you guys. Thank you all for watching live. Comment down below. Thank you all for watching post live. After it's been uploaded, let me know what you guys think. Sorry for stream interruptions and me putting the camera down to here. There were reasons. But let me know what you guys think down below. Comment if you like. I'm out. And have a good Saturday.